Woo! Hello, guys and gals. Me, Mudahar, and for the last couple days, there's been one of the most stressful Reddit events that have been happening. Unless you're a nerd, you really don't follow. Now, I want to ask you guys, what is the most stressful thing you can do on your computer, okay? Is it deleting your search history? Is it updating Windows? No. Let me tell you, what about if you update your BIOS? Now, for anybody that has no idea what a BIOS is a basic input-output system. So when you're firing up your computer, like back in the day or even now, you might see like your motherboard logo, you might see a whole string of like information. That is your basic input-output system, basically knocking your computer and checking, are you alive? Is everything functioning? Okay, let me boot into whatever operating system you have installed, whether it be Windows, whether it be Linux, whether it be Mac, whether it be FreeBSD, whether it be Hannah Montana OS, Red Star, whatever, it doesn't matter, okay? The basic input-output system is like the first wake-up, okay? If that doesn't function, the rest of the computer is effectively DOA. Now, this is a Reddit post, hour 4 of my BIOS update. Not cool, BIOS star. Now, you might be like, what's the big deal? BIOS updates last minutes, and they're very stressful, because if this thing fails at any moment in the middle, or the power goes out, or something is corrupted, your motherboard is effectively just completely toast, depending on how old it is, okay? So of course, this guy showcases his BIOS flasher utility. And of course, you can see that the BIOS date is, in 2018, the file date right over here. And for 4 hours, this thing has been writing to the motherboard and like nothing's been going on. So of course, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment in time, Budget Ballin, which is the channel behind this interesting internet event at the moment, decided to showcase it in a live stream. Now, this is the home of bad PCs, and from my understanding, I think this is like a Filipino individual who is posting it. But yeah, they really just post YouTube shorts about like bad budget computers. So I like it. Here's a $9 computer, dude. It's like a very simple $9 system. I'm sure it can run me a copy of Candy Crush just fine. What's actually in here? Let me see this. Oh, dude, that looks like a $9 system. 2 gigs of RAM, GeForce 210. Ooh, they are running Half-Life 2 at medium settings on this, brother. God damn. Oh, shit. All right, so anyways, it eventually became a situation where, like, it reached to several hours of an update, okay? In fact, as of very recently, it is hour 43 that we're sitting on, but I want to walk you through this monstrosity. So after 4 hours to 16 hours, Goat with a Gun says that nothing has actually started moving. Now obviously in hour 4, everything seemed to look somewhat decent. Even if it took hours, you actually saw that things were going in the good direction. So in the bottom right over here, you can see that there's legends, right? In the BIOS update, there's green for good, there's white for no update, and then there's red for write fail, which is not the color you ever want to see. At some point, 4 hours into this, he started receiving the color purple. Now, when you can't even see the color in the legend, that's never a good sign. So after like 4 to 16 hours, our friend started to see a whole heck of a lot more of that purple and not more of the green as God should have been given us, okay? Which obviously, ladies and gentlemen, is something where this motherboard is in the middle of quantum states, okay? Quantum computing has people looking at things like qubits where things can both be a 0 and a 1, true and false. Things can be in 2 states at any given moment, okay? So this motherboard exists in a quantum plane where either it is dead or it is still actually updating. So there was an entire live stream of all this stuff happening, ladies and gentlemen. Budget Ballins decided, let me just slap a camera up, point it at the actual screen and show it. Now this is actually a live stream that's functioning, and if you're wondering, whoa, nothing is actually happening over here, that's because this stream is like 12 hours long. Now, the people who have been watching this are so invested into the entire meme that you can forward this live stream like a few hours. I want you to look at where this purple box is. You can basically go like 4 hours into the future and it has not moved. You can go a further 4 hours into the future and you start to see some actual action, dude. So nobody is really understanding what is the actual implication here. Now at around 43 hours of this actual monstrosity, you can just see that this system is working. The guy shows the actual computer still somewhat alive. So the fans are functioning, the BIOS is updating, but yeah, this is one of those systems where, in my professional computer experience, this is probably dead, okay? A BIOS should take minutes to complete. not after 24 hours. So over here, you can see that the BIOS is updating 24 hours after the mix. You can still see the purples just being thrown at us. And obviously, he starts to ask some common questions. So what kind of a motherboard is it? It's a BioStar A320MH. And this is like what the actual motherboard fucking looks like right over here. The A320MH, okay? So it supports a Ryzen CPU, APU. It's definitely, it's fine for budget systems. There's really no issue there. It's actually insane. This motherboard can actually support my current CPU in the system, a Ryzen 9 5950X. So it's actually not even that old. This motherboard can support some pretty decent processors. But yeah, it's got an issue. Now, of course, this motherboard is not filled with some of those new features that can help you in times like this. Now, when you're updating a BIOS, and generally speaking, I don't think most people really update their BIOSes like crazy. I would be surprised if you, the viewer, have ever actually consciously updated a BIOS. In most cases, a general update to this kind of stuff, a firmware update as some systems call it, will just happen in the background. Sometimes if you buy a new pre-built computer, it may just do it for you as part of like a Windows update path. But if you buy a Steam Deck, for instance, it may choose to do that for you on your first initial update when you actually unbox the thing. This is not a common update. And the only time I really remember having to really do one without the sake of needing for it was when I was playing like an older game like GTA 4 and Crysis, and they had this shitty DRM called Securom. It's actually worse than Denuvo in my opinion. It wouldn't run on my actual Intel computer, so I had to update the motherboard BIOS to get the DRM to function. I don't know why that was. I don't know why that was happening, but I had to do it in that case. And generally speaking, what you do is you go to your motherboard manufacturer, you download a cap file, the actual firmware file, you put it on a flash drive or anything that's formatted in FAT32, okay? Nothing fancy, because you just want the motherboard to read off of it. Then you just install it, takes a couple minutes, and you're good to go. It should never take several hours like this, which is why this is one of the most stressful updates that I'm seeing, okay? So obviously, after 24 hours, how long can this man go for? 48 hours later, this is how far it's gotten. So we still got several lines to go. This may take a week to actually truly fail. I love how this, I wonder what this GT is even actually. This might be like the weakest GT card that I've ever seen. Now, I looked through the documentation of this motherboard, so even if things do tend to fail, it shouldn't be impossible for somebody to get one of these your BIOS programmer chips and maybe fix the motherboard right over here. But the question is, you might have to ask yourself why you would do that. So some of the people that were actually talking about it, the purple little lines that are unidentified in the actual motherboard appear to just be timeouts. So basically the update reached this green line, and after every single attempt here, it's just been timing out slowly. It's just one of those things where by the time it reaches the end, there are two possibilities, okay? Either this shit doesn't work whatsoever, or there's some sort of fallback into this computer where, God bless, you're able to hit the power button and somehow it's yeah, we rolled back to some recovery version and now you can use your computer. But yeah, it's one of the most stressful updates that I've seen. And from a nerdy perspective, it's just one of those goofy things that people are looking at and kind of just hoping that it works. We're kind of all cheering for this poor little computer motherboard. It's not even really that old in the grand scheme of things. Even if you factor in COVID time dilation, this should hopefully work, all right? This could be a pretty banging budget computer if we're really trying to bring it back to life. When you're typically updating things, sometimes it lasts so long that what I do is I just put my mouse over a loading bar and just see how far it's going. It actually even moves. And normally in a case like this, what makes it super stressful, again, to remind the audience, is generally when you're updating anything else that isn't a BIOS, if something fails, you can just restart your computer and go from the beginning. Or you can just reinstall your operating system if you find that installing it caused an issue, okay? It's usually not that big of a problem. With a BIOS update, especially something with an older BIOS like this that doesn't have a lot of those protections, this is one of those things where every single time I've updated my computer, I have prayed to God that the power doesn't go out or something doesn't fail. Because generally speaking, the headache involved around here is just impossibly hard. And that's one of the funniest things about it. It's one of the reasons why it's one of the stressful Reddit posts. So I know this might not feel like a big deal to some people, but if you're like a computer nerd watching this, you probably can at least somewhat enjoy, and you can kind of join in on the nail-biting action of just seeing this thing fucking fail or succeed. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, a computer BIOS update has been gripping the PC community for the last couple days. And if you missed out on it, even if you're into like some of the wildest pulse-pounding action and drama, this is where it is, okay? Nothing is more real, nothing is more sacred than a fucking motherboard update that refuses to fail. And this is in one of those wild quantum states where either it's failed and it's most likely brick, let's be honest. Or maybe, God willing, once these purple bars are complete, it may actually function. It may actually even update the BIOS. We might even discover a whole new style of motherboard once this is done. But yeah, it's one of those things that I've been seeing for the past couple days, and I wanted to kind of share it with you because of how goofy and wild it was. But yeah, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I'm going back to the live stream.